Mike Wang stole the skill gap. Mike Wang stole the fun. Take a look at this post from AKA Shotzi. He said, whose idea was it at NBA 2K to replace any skill gap in this game with RNG? I thought the whole point of a competitive sports game was to be competitive. This next post from Day One Victory, all these content creators with their game-breaking build titles, game-breaking move titles on their videos, game-breaking jump shot title on their videos, puts a bunch of sleeping and yawn emojis and says the only thing breaking the game is Beluba, Mike Wang. With all the issues surrounding NBA 2K25, when do you think we last heard from NBA 2K25's gameplay director? Over 500,000 followers, and the last time we've heard from Mike Wang was on December 2nd, where he talked about a gameplay update, increased the effectiveness of skill dunks on Superstar and Hall of Fame difficulties, and increased the effectiveness of hook shots and time layups across all difficulties. That was the last we've heard from Mike Wang. Not one post, not one reply to address gameplay concerns to the 2K community in 2025? All crickets? Really? I believe it's safe to say that the 2K community has come to a consensus. There's RNG in the game. There's an algorithm. There's a slingshot effect, somewhat of a controlled outcome that dictates and determines the end scores of the games you're playing online. It undermines your intelligence and also belittles the impact of your skills, all for the sake of making everybody feel like a winner. We all end up becoming wieners. For context, I would like to reference a portion of this post that Mike Wang once sent out. He said, contrary to popular belief, we never, in capital letters, never patch specific jump shot animations to make certain bases or releases more or less effective. That's in case any of you guys ever feel like your jump shot has been patched. And matter of fact, let me know in the comments section if you believe this to be cap. Sound off. He goes on to say there are way too many animation combinations to even attempt to do that if we wanted to. He also says that they have zero interest in doing that. He says my earlier post about wanting realistic field goal percentages has been taken way out of context. We're not doing anything in game code to hold percentages down or boost percentages up in an attempt to get like real life numbers. He goes on to say I was simply stating that the shot window sizes are tuned so that shot percentages hopefully play out in a realistic way, because when people make threes like layups, it leads to boring basketball. Boring for who? Now keep in mind this is an older post, and he says that higher shot percentages lead to boring basketball. But the answer to higher shot percentages not leading to boring basketball was the game having a pure green window. As he says, but now that the green windows are pure, I can no longer use RNG to make shooting hit specific targets. It's totally in the hands of the player. And unfortunately, most players are less consistent than Matt. So Mike Wang's answer and idea was to create smaller but pure green windows. In 2K24, the community adjusted to it and everybody was happy with shooting. Now, the big change that did happen in our last patch was a significant change to our online code to reduce latency. I'm almost 100% sure that's the difference in shooting that everybody's feeling. And my theory for why pros are feeling it much more than everyone else is because a lot of them have mastered their shot timing down to the millisecond. And when you have ingrained your button release timing after hundreds and hundreds of reps, maybe it's that much harder to adjust to the latency change. Now, I want to go back to a sentence that he mentioned about the pros and how the pros get accustomed to particular shot timing after hundreds and hundreds of shots. I also would like to reference something he mentioned in the first paragraph, saying we're not doing anything in the game code to hold percentages down or boost percentages up to try and get real life numbers. Keep this stuff in mind. He says, I was simply stating that the shot window sizes, the sizes of the shot window is what he mentioned. The shot window sizes are tuned so that shot percentages hopefully play out in a realistic way, because when people make three-pointers like layups, it leads to boring basketball. Now, you guys know I'm finna break this whole thing apart. Now, in NBA 2K25, we all found out that our green windows are shifting from one shot to the next. If you take enough shots, like maybe more than 4 shots, your green window will shift outside of muscle memory. As I just mentioned a second ago, Mike Wang completely acknowledged that the professional players, the pros, become accustomed to their jump shot after hundreds and hundreds of reps shooting. Knowing that this is the evolution of 2K players and helps lead them toward becoming pros, muscle memory in your button presses, muscle memory in your shooting. So why would Mike Wang shift your green window outside of your muscle memory and label it a dynamic green window? Some believe it's to combat cheaters. Well, I believe Mike Wang and the 2K dev team had to figure out a different route to combat cheaters. You don't combat cheaters at the expense of your complete player base. You don't combat cheaters at the expense of the 2K culture. The idea they're attempting to propose in NBA 2K25 is that we got to pay so close attention to our jump shot animation as the cue for your jump shot remains consistent, the actual visual cue. But what they fail to tell you is that 2K is adding and subtracting milliseconds on each individual jump shot you take, shifting your green window left and right, and at times shifting it completely outside of the norm. They very well may be correct in what they're saying, that the green window will maintain consistency with your visual cue, but help me understand how you guys are supposed to lock in with a visual cue that's shifting, adding, and subtracting milliseconds on the entire animation. And there's no rhyme or reason. They will randomly add or subtract milliseconds onto your shooting animation. Now, the only way that I can see this could all make sense to add and subtract milliseconds onto our jump shots is for 2K to completely zoom all the way in onto our hands releasing the rock. Outside of that, I can't see how we make sense of shifting green windows. The good folks over at NBA 2K Labs tested this stuff out. You guys hear what they have to say.
This is why you might be missing your jump shot green windows on 2K25. Here are 2 green windows from the first 2 shots of the same jumper. And if you had released both shots at 590 milliseconds, represented by the dotted line here, you'd have green both. And as you can see from the chart, if we judge by timing only, the green window will move slightly from shot to shot. But visually though, it is actually still in the same spot of your jump shot animation. Remember this part, it is important for what's to come. Now, this is what can happen if you can time 590 milliseconds exactly over 4 shots. However, a player obviously can't be that consistent. So here is a more realistic representation of a user's shot timing over 4 shots. Now here's the key part. This is what happens if a player takes 6 jump shots. The shot timings that would have gotten you a green with shots 1 to 4 will now most likely be a miss for shot 5 to 6 due to slight animation changes during your shot. To green more in 2K25, you're going to really have to pay attention to your jump shot's animation ideal release point instead of relying solely on feel or timing. How you feel about the shooting change?
I tell you guys, I find it extremely disrespectful. Mike Wang says that they're doing nothing. We're not doing anything in-game code to hold percentages down or boost percentages up to try and get real life numbers. That's what he said. And in case you guys didn't fully catch what Sam Fan from 2K Lab was trying to express, surely your release queue will stay consistent. But I think the point that everybody is missing are the milliseconds that are being added and subtracted to your whole jump shot animation. In other words, these are speed ups and load ups on your jump shots. Slight millisecond changes in your entire jump shot animation that shifts your green window, changing the cue on your jump shot. Now, unless we're completely zoomed into our hands releasing the rock, how are we supposed to gauge those slight changes? You guys see what I'm saying here now? So although, like Mike Wang said, it may not be in-game coding, which is like speaking with a forked tongue, because the chances of a human being with the naked eye being able to gauge those millisecond variations in our jump shot are damn near the same thing as changing the coding in-game. Millisecond shifts in our green window are the exact same thing as holding percentages down, which is why a good percentage of 2K players on 2K25 have way lower shooting percentages than they've had in 2K24. And it's also part reason as to why the end scores are so much lower. I would like to reference this last post from Boomy, starting off from Mike Wang. In the first part of this post, it says the visual cue doesn't move around in different spots in the animation. Hopefully you guys fully understand that. That's what Sam Fan from 2K Labs just expressed in a video that he shared showcasing the shifting green windows. The visual cue is not shifting in the actual animation. Your hands are going to always follow through with a release. The ideal release point is always at the same point in the animation based on the cue you choose, and that's on the the top bar of your custom jump shot, changing your visual cue. But again, like I just expressed, to help reiterate, the timing to get to that visual cue, that's what's going to fluctuate. Slight speed ups and slight load ups. And if we start referring to it as speed up and load ups, we'll understand better the shifting green window. But I'll continue on. It says the problem with shooting is a lot of people are just expecting to have the same success this year as they had in 2K24. But one of the main goals for 2K25 was to bring 3-point percentages down to earth, which is why green windows are much tighter by design. A tighter green window is one thing. A tighter pure green window would be absolutely amazing for a lot more players. They can adjust to something that's tighter as long as it's pure. Shifting those green windows from from left to right randomly is where, things become an issue. The post goes on to say the reason why we want 3-point percentages closer to NBA averages is because we believe it results in better basketball. For who? Has it resulted in better basketball for 2K25 players? Neither here nor there. I'll continue on with the post. It says it makes more builds viable. And do you guys think there's more viable builds in NBA 2K25 with these changes that have been made? There may be differently named builds, but it doesn't change what becomes meta, or it doesn't change the general overall style of gameplay out there, the type of gameplay that is the most effective. The post goes on to say encourages more variety in scoring as well. When 3-point percentages start to hover around 60 to 70% on average, it makes no sense to ever attempt the 2. Now, I can give credit where credit is due. In NBA 2K25, I personally even like taking mid-ranges. But as you guys see in day-to-day gameplay, the good majority of the folks are still gonna go for the 3 because that's not only the 2K culture, that's also actually the culture in the NBA right now. Coaches are telling their teams, we need this amount of 3s. Do not take a 2-pointer. And if 2K is supposed to be anything close to an NBA simulation, then they should know by now that players are going to lean way more toward the 3 than they would a 2. Although I will say I enjoy taking 2s on NBA 2K25. Anyway, I'll continue on. So the animation fluctuation that last posted today was put in place to combat Zens, obviously, but we also thought it was justified because it increases the skill gap with shooting, and I don't see it to be a skill gap, and that's my main issue. I don't believe there to be any human being with the naked eye that could monitor every single shift in your animation. Even though the visual cue is on point and is gonna stay consistent, unless 2K is zooming in completely onto our hands releasing the rock, I can't see how a human being with the naked eye will be able to notice the slight fluctuation, millisecond shifts in our actual jump shot animation. These are millisecond shifts. It's not a complete load up where you can notice and adjust. These are slight load ups and speed ups that change where the green window is placed, still maintaining the same visual cue. But if you're not fully locked in and able to zoom in on your hands releasing the rock, I find it to be impossible to notice those slight fluctuation millisecond shifts. And I don't believe it to only be me, as a ton of players in the 2K community have issues, from the absolute best players to the most casual players. The way players see it is that 2K is just making them miss. The feedback you get from 2K players is that I'm releasing it the same exact way. And that's exactly right. You're releasing it the same exact way without seeing those fluctuations in your shifting green window. And this is exactly why you're missing, is because that green window is shifting well beyond what you're accustomed to greening. The post goes on to say a good user who's able to key their release off the jumper's visual cue when the time from the button press to the visual cue point is dynamic, like the shifting green window is what they call dynamic, should be able to outperform a Zen user. Are we serious here? Human beings with the naked eye playing on 2K's trashy latency-filled servers are supposed to outperform a whole device and script made to give people an automatic green. I find this so difficult to make sense of that stuff. As always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this stuff. Sound off in the comment section below. If any of you guys are new here, consider dropping a like and a sub on your way out. I'll catch you guys on the next video or live stream. Easy, y'all. If you guys are tired of running with randoms and you're looking for players to run with on NBA 2K, come on out and join the AllCity 2K Discord. The link will be in the description below. Find players and get runs now. Drop a like and drop a sub on your way out. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, y'all.